Today we're going to be learning about the origin of life in phylogenetic trees. Please write these notes on page 18 of your interactive notebook. So the timeline in which we had our universe to modern day was the origin of life, early Earth, formation of simple organic molecules, formation of simple cells, and then the formations of eukaryotes. So the first thing we should be talking about is the origin of life. So scientists believe that the formation of our universe was caused by the Big Bang Theory. And the Big Bang Theory assumed that there was a cosmic explosion about 10 to 20 billion years ago, forcing matter to form our universe. So basically something, let's say this is space, these are stars, these stars collided with each other, causing an explosion, and then causing to have our universe that we have today. Second thing we should talk about is early Earth. So our Earth is 4.54 billion years old. During early Earth, the atmosphere was very hot, and it contained a lot of poisonous gases with little to no oxygen. So it was very hot. Poisonous gases. The best I can do for that, and was little to no oxygen, so little to no oxygen, and that was the condition of our early Earth. So since the atmosphere was very hot and there was a lot of poisonous gases and little to no oxygen, there were no living organisms until there was a formation of simple molecules. So the formation of simple molecules simple molecules were thought to be formed in hydrothermal vents deep in the sea. So down in the sea there are these vents. These vents are very, very hot, and they release basically gases from the sea, and it is thought that these molecules come from these vents and then into the atmosphere. So that was the formation of our simple molecules. The combinations of these simple molecules led to the formation of genetic materials as well as simple cells. So these simple cells are mostly bacteria. So we know that they don't have a nucleus. It's just DNA, some ribosomes, and other types of combinations that make up bacteria. These bacteria were able to utilize the energy from the sun to produce oxygen. So they use photosynthesis to make oxygen. This specific type of bacteria that was able to make this oxygen was called cyanobacteria, also known as green algae. So once there was oxygen in the atmosphere, eukaryotes were able to arise or form. So the formation of eukaryotes arise. One of the theories of how this came about was through a process called endosymbiosis. So the formation of eukaryotes was thought to be formed by endosymbiosis, and endosymbiosis occurred when mitochondria and chloroplasts were engulfed by this other cell, so kind of like a Pac-Man type of deal, and this caused them to be part of that new cell. So now you have mitochondria and chloroplasts in one cell, and they became part of that cell. So this theory is called endosymbiosis, and now modern day mitochondria and chloroplasts, which were originally bacteria cells, are now organelles of eukaryotic cells. So this is a long timeline of how life came about. We had origin of life, we have early Earth, formation of our simple organic molecules, leading to the formation of simple cells, which led to the formation of eukaryotes. There were two specific scientists called or named Urey and Miller, and this is very important that you know their names. So Urey and Miller. Urey and Miller in the 1920s set up a lab apparatus, and essentially recreated early Earth. And what they did is they added these simple molecules, organic molecules, into this apparatus. The apparatus then moves through, the molecules then move through the apparatus through condensers and other parts of the apparatus. Then they shocked it with some electricity. Electricity, and just left it over time. What they found was that over time these simple molecules, these simple organic molecules, became other molecules such as amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. So overall, this entire experiment replicated what early life was like, and then using these simple molecules we're able to reconstruct how these blocks or building blocks of life were formed, and how those combinations were able to come together to make genetic information, to make other proteins, to basically essentially make living organisms. So again, this is Urey and Miller experiment. The Urey and Miller experiment. So evolution occurs over time, and during this time species can change. We can identify these relationships in individual species as well as the individuals itself by using what we call a phylogenic tree. So this is an example of what that tree would look like. So phylogenic trees show evolutionary relationships among organisms, and one way a family tree would represent these relationships between family members, you can find the common ancestors between two organisms, or trace back how far back they need to go to find a connection. So basically, the closer the ancestor, the more closely related they are. So for example, we have organisms A, B, C, D, and E. So if you look at this tree, you go back and you notice that A and B share a common ancestor at 3. C and D share a common ancestor at 4. But if you're comparing C, D, and E, they have to go all the way back to common ancestor 2 to share a relationship. And if you go far back enough, you can see that A, B, C, D, and E share a distant common ancestor at 1. So the bottom part here is the earliest time, and the top part is the most recent time. So as you go down the tree, you can trace back where the common ancestor is. And if you go forward, you can see the relationships between the recent organisms that you're looking at. And we're going to go into more detail and get more practice over origins of life as well as phylogenic trees in class. But that wraps up our lesson for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Again, please write these notes on page 18 of your interactive biology notebook.